Hello everyone, I'm High Treason and welcome back to Let's Play The Long Drive. This is part 81. I was going to check for oil. I left the hood up, so I remember that, didn't I? I remember now because I left the hood up. We do have emergency oil in the car, but it seems like the rate's going a lot faster than we thought, so maybe just as well we have that. Oh, that ought to do it. That's convenient. Yeah, oil's not unlikely to spawn at these, so, you know. Drink? Yeah, I don't want to drink it. That's not a drink, that's oil. Drank vegetable oil before. Tastes very good, it's kind of oily. Better than sunflower oil, this stuff's gross. Right, onward we go. We are leaving the flatlands at, you see, we are currently at basically 4795k, 5k away from 4800. As we know, road length is an average of about 5,000. So really, 3 or 4 parts until we're at 5,000. The road is likely to be a bit longer. Hence, as I said before, it'll be 6 parts or so really until we're done, I would think. But then we also are probably, you know, farther than that counter says because of the alien ship and inaccuracies and the way we've driven and things like that. We could be ahead, we could be behind. That was a deep voice rabbit. Dickheads. I hate them. I wish we could just kill all of them. Hey, my car's back at its maximum fucking speed. I don't think we want to be doing that, man. As I say, we're going to be taking it a little bit slower. This is the car we're taking to the end. It's too late to do anything about it now, really, unless we get an immaculate car spawns that's just full of fuel. I might go at the boat just to say we did. You know? I say we should. Just for variety, you know, we just did nothing but drive in the last part. So we'll go and have a look and see if we can top the gas up. Why not? You know, it doesn't matter too much now. I didn't look at the odometer when I started. Also, it was on 555. Who cares? 610 is our target to stop at. Hey, I like that number. That's a nice number. I don't know why. I just get good feelings about that one. But yeah, that's our target on the car odometer, I guess. And then we'll definitely know we've gone far enough. I mean, like I say, we're not going to be pushing absolute full fucking tilt anymore, because we just want to get there now. There's not much to talk about. The turn's different. It's all a little bit slower, and it does just feel oddly peaceful this far out in the game. It is a totally different mood. I don't know if you feel it as I do, because you ain't done all the driving and I have. You lazy bastards. Next time you're driving, when we go home. I've been contemplating not actually filming the full journey home and just recording sort of intermittently, like, you know, if something interesting's going on. You know, I'd probably record the whole thing and then just erase, like, parts that were interesting. Could probably do something where I set clip length to be like 10 minutes or so. Then it'd make it easier in editing, you know, because it'd all be split up and I could sort of pinpoint roughly where something had been. I don't know, we'll see. It's going to be months away. Part of me is looking forward to being done with this. Like, I love this game, I'm still really enjoying it, but, you know, I would like to go and do other things. But at the same time, you know, I'm pushing to get this done. Because I want to see it done. I want to say I've done it again. You actually do get a bit of a sense of achievement from making it so far. If only because a lot of people don't. I think a lot of people just put the game down like after not very long, like with most any game. And people who try fail and they just can't get out here. And that's a shame, but hey, I'm sure they'll get here. The game isn't actually hard. You know, once you know how it works, there's no gasoline in here, I don't think. Oh, we're not really in any urgent need. Yeah, I don't see any barrels over here. They probably spawned under the world. It happens. Alright, no worries. It was worth a look, you know. It was something to do. It broke up the adventure just a little bit. Very, very, very good. Oh, don't do that now. That's annoying. Hasn't even really cut that much time because we drive slow when it gets dark. So, it got dark when we came over here. Yeah, I mean, there's fuel we could use if we absolutely had to, like 2-stroke premix, but we're not exactly in urgent need of fuel. We probably can get to the end of the road on what we've got. Like, I'm not really concerned or anything. There we go, back towards the road. I think the road's carving the way we're facing, so, you know. Yeah, does start to. Slow down because there might be a bit of a sharp angle there. Yeah, not too much of one, but it would have bounced the car a bit, so yeah, I think slowing down was the right thing. Taking that to mean the road turns and that we don't like smash into the Mesa. It would be cool if you could get tunnels through them. I don't know how you'd get that to spawn reliably, but that would actually be pretty neat if you did get them where the road went through, like in a tunnel. Fuck off, rabbit. No one likes you. I mean, does anyone like those rabbits? Anyone? No, I don't think anyone likes them. I think they're all just horrible, aren't they? I want the snowmans back. I miss them. I miss the noise they made. It was funny. It was like they were just barking forever. The hell was that? I saw something suspended in the air. It's probably the edge of that. Yeah, it's that rock that sticks out. We will go to one of them, but like I say, we'll wait until we're at the end of the road to do it, because there's nothing really interesting about them. But I will go out to one just to look at it. It's a long time since I've done it, so maybe there is stuff out there now. I'm not stopping there. I'm going to keep going. We like I say, we ain't really got stops left. We're just driving to the end of the road at this point. That's what it is. That's what we're doing now. All there is to do is pretty much done. We're pretty content to just go at this point. Just go and go and go. Yeah, I think we are going to go back in the mountains. Like I say, I think the game has another mountain range left in it, and it probably is going to be a pretty tough one. The roads are probably going to be gnarly as hell. It's probably going to be very steep. I'm surprised I've not ever been on one that I slide down, unless it's changed the player movement. The handling's felt different since the last big update, so, you know, it maybe has changed that. When I was doing that, I was in an older version of the game, so it doesn't mention anything about it in the update notes, but that doesn't mean he didn't change it so much as it maybe just forgot or didn't think it was important enough to mention. You know, there have been things in the game that have changed and not been in the notes before, and they're usually just small things like that. You know, it'd be some really minor thing. I mean, I think the tyre texture changed, and I don't think that was mentioned in the update notes either, that the tyres used to look a little bit different. There was nothing significantly different about them, they were just a bit different to what they are now. It's not like the Jerry Can, where that's like a totally different model. Like, they used to be kind of shorter and fatter and everything. I liked the old model, but the new one I think is a bit more fitting to the game environment. So, you know, it's, they look a bit more like the ones I've seen, that's for sure. The old one looked kind of plasticky, to be honest. Yeah, I saw that and I was like, yeah, well, fuck it, we'll take the risk. Rather than risking a swerve, we'll just drive over it. As we've seen time and time again, sometimes it's the best thing to do when you know you're probably going to hit it anyway, is just to let go and let the car straighten out. And yeah, you have a crash sometimes, but at least you're ready for it and you're hitting it square on instead of like digging the corner of your car in and flipping over all over. We definitely end up like worse off if we try to avoid it. My fuel actually does seem to be going down pretty quickly. 569. Okay, 5, yeah, 6.9. I was like, I'm sure I just read a 3. It probably went past in the orange. It's probably 300 meters. Like, I don't look down there for very long in case rocks appear. Like, the late loading rocks keep you on your toes a little bit, and you know, we're probably going to get hit by one as soon as I say this, but it's definitely working better than it did the last time I came out here. I don't know what you did to the game, Dev. Like, as in, I don't know what the dev did to the game, but it worked, you know. I honestly don't know what you did since I was last out here, but you've done something, and it's definitely improved the game. There's certainly still room for more improvement, but it's definitely improved from where it was. And I was down about 12 frames a second the last time I was here as well, and yeah, I mean, the game's actually hanging on okay. We do still keep going up in the 40s here, and that is a huge improvement, and I had the details turned down lower back then as well. So I don't know what you did, but you did something, and it does appear to be effective. So I'm not going to be complaining about that. That's good. Of course, if I had better hardware, we'd probably like just be sitting here at 60, but I don't. My PC is more of a workstation. It's not really built for running games. That's not what it's tuned for. Everything's tweaked for workstation tasks. So, you know, some of them are kind of beneficial for running games, but a lot of things about it really aren't. It's not really that sort of machine, you know. It'll do it, obviously, but it doesn't do it as well as, you know, if it was adjusted and set up to do that. If we had the settings adjusted more for running games rather than like accuracy and reliability, and if we had hardware that was a little bit better designed to do these kinds of tasks. I mean, the video card's certainly fine for this, but it's not a very big powerhouse of a card. It's only a GT 750 or whatever, so it's, you know, it's not. Is it even the TI? I don't think it's even the TI. Like, I just got it because it was cheap, and I needed a bit more power than my 730 had, you know. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of stuff in that building, I think. The heat hairs went weird then. It was all like flickery. I don't know if you'll see that, because you do see the video at a lower frame rate than I see the game anyway. Well, as long as we're over 30. Like, you know, I only record at 30. It's all I can do, or else it slows down more. The game runs better if I'm not recording, obviously. It does seem to take up quite a lot of power to record video, which it shouldn't, because the encoding is not really, it's pretty much raw, or very close to raw. Motion JPEG might be on, but I mean, it's pretty much indistinguishable unless you want, like, you know, pixel perfect colour accuracy. It's quite noisy, this game, so there's not really much point in that. You know, it's all sand and tar, so we don't need it like to be super duper accurate or anything. Especially not when it's getting the YouTube treatment. YouTube, it does screw with things a bit, so there's only so much you can do. If this was for the main channel, I'd put a bit more effort into getting the quality. Like, you know, the quality would be better on the main channel, but not by too much. I don't think most people would notice, and I'm sure a lot of people won't watch this purely because it's not widescreen. Which, as I've said, I'm sorry, but I don't have a widescreen monitor, and I'm not playing in like a fucking 19-inch fucking bar. My eyes don't see things that shit. The human eyes are widescreen. If anything, that's more like an M shape that you see. Really, the old round screens were pretty close. You know, widescreen is it's not really, it isn't how you see things, so the edges are always in your periphery rather than in focus. And plus, people use, I don't get when I sit at other people's desks and they have like a 30-inch screen. It's like I have to move my head to see the corners of the desktop. Like, big screens are for sitting farther away from. If I'm going to be sat within like 1.5 to 2 foot of the display, I don't want to be moving my fucking head. You're supposed to use a smaller display. And then the manufacturer, when I want to buy a monitor, gives me a load of bullshit. Oh, well, we can't get that pixel density. You're asking the impossible. It's like, get bent. You could do that in like the mid-90s. I have machines that have higher pixel density on LCD screens than you're saying you're capable of making now. So what sort of fucking shit company are you if you can't do that? Response time on some of my 90s like hardware is better than modern day LCDs, and that just baffles me. You know, because they used to be terrible. Going into the 90s, you were still mostly on passive matrix, and you had like fancy fucking dual scan and quad scan, very rare, going on to try and offset that. But the old passive matrix screens are slow and blurry. They're not very good, but they didn't use a lot of power. They were quite efficient. So, you know, they got the job done. The active matrix screens sort of got a little bit cheaper to make and started using a bit less power, and so they started using those, although they were an expensive option. And yeah, they weren't that good at first. They were better than the old passive matrix, but you know, they weren't something you could have fast moving images on or anything, because it just looked terrible. And then as you start passing the mid-90s, they actually start to get really, really good until you get to the 2000s, and then they go crap and just never improve. I mean, I think I had to wait about 20 years to start seeing like LCD screens that could produce like similar resolutions to my CRT, and it's like, this is just like a fucking jerk. Like this is why I'm still on this monitor. Like, I just won't move until I can get a monitor that does the same thing but better. Like, if I can find a screen that will actually fit on my desk, give me just as good response time, just as good colour, just as high a refresh rate and resolution and everything, and use at, you know, at most as much power as this does, and not fucking more, because a lot of LCD screens are fucking power hogs despite what they tell you, then I would do it. I would get one, but I haven't found one yet. And they always just tell me, oh, well, if you want that kind of thing, you're going to have to buy a larger monitor, but you won't get that response time, because it's like, well, then your technology's shit and I'm not moving. I come from the city where they were developed. My city invented LCD displays, and everything about my city is crap, so it stands to reason that that technology that comes through it will be pretty crap. It belongs in fucking pocket calculators. It doesn't belong on a desktop like machine, I don't feel. They have, some of them have improved, and I have seen some LCD monitors that actually look pretty good, but they're all fucking massive, and I don't live in an infinitely sized house. Like, this CRT is about as much as I can fit on my desk. I cannot fit a modern monitor on here, because despite what they tell you, LCD screens actually take up a lot of room, especially if you want like high-res ones, because they're bigger fucking panels. And it's all the screen's tight. It's like, yeah, but you've seen the size of the base for the thing, because it's not exactly lightweight, so it has this big fucking foot on the bottom. And you don't have this nice big flat top that I can sit like another screen or something on top of, so they actually take up more room. They make less efficient use of space than my CRT screen does. Now we have the problem that when I get another machine in a few years or whatever, it's not going to have a VGA port on it, and so then I'll have to be running this monitor through a converter, and then I will have delay, and it'll probably be doing a bunch of stupid scaling, even though I don't want it to, and it shouldn't need to, because everything does that now, because, you know, everything needs its own fucking computer chip when it doesn't actually need one. You know, people bitch at me, oh, you need this fucking quad-core fucking ARM CPU that you could actually run as an entire fucking media center PC just to convert fucking keyboard scan codes or something. And it's like, no, I think I'll pass. We'll just do that with some simple logic. You know, oh, it's convert video signals, you'll need this. No, I don't need this processor. I just need some glue logic and some diodes, you know. We'll get there. Some guy got angry at me because I substituted an OR gate on his schematic with diodes. He was using like an entire like quad OR gate from the 7.4 series, like, you know, for just 2 inputs. And it's like, you know, what is this doing? Like, is the voltage level that vital? Doesn't seem so. So, I mean, you know, judging to the only conditions that that circuit can ever be on, like, there's no reason to use this IC. Like, this is a needless cost. You chuck a couple of signal diodes in there, it'll do fine. Like, yeah, you'll get some fractional voltage drop, but it's enough to flip the gate on the other end. Plus the fact, on that particular circuit, I seem to recall it had some other logic that had it like either an inverting output or we could make it an inverting output. And so, you know, if you have a problem, you just feed it into there, and then you use that. It's essentially like, you know, you can stack the NOT condition up, and yeah, you get a bit of propagation delay, but if it's not, the logic's not that fast, like, you know, then it doesn't matter, and you'll get the full logic level back. I do something like that in my Mega Drive pad converter thing. The clock signal's quite weak, so we actually feed it through a fucking NOT gate to get it, like, so we know full well that it'll be able to turn the gates on in the latches that it's driving, and we actually derive the clock source from the latch itself. We enable like 2 of the latch inputs, because you can only do 2 at a time. There's only 2 enable pins for 4 inputs, and we actually stuff the clock into one of those inputs that's always on, and then because we're swapping between the 2 latches, we just drive one of the latches through, like, and, you know, enabling one of the latches, we actually drive from the, like, output of that, and then we drive the other one through the NOT output of that, because they have inverting outputs on those latches. Like, for every, say, output 1, there is an output NOT 1, like, which is just the opposite. And so we leverage that to actually ensure that we have like a full logic level signal there. The clock's already been through a NOT gate, so we're actually through an exclusive OR gate with one of its inputs tied high. So when we actually have the clock on is that gate won't output anything. And when the clock turns off, it actually just outputs the full fucking power level. And so, you know, we've got a stronger signal to drive from, because the clock signal itself is quite weak, and if we tried to drive the latches with it, you would start getting voltage drop and it becomes unreliable. But the multiplexer chip in the game pads might still turn on, like, you know, and so instead, you know, we'll do things like that, because those outputs aren't used, and this is like efficient electronic design. And people just don't do that sort of thing anymore. Nowadays, people would have to substitute that. Oh, I need to add this IC, so I need to add this IC as well, and I'll need to put this on to make like this circuit. It's like you have these 2 ICs that are already on the board that aren't doing anything. Like, you're only using half of those. Like, so why don't you just use, like, you know, leverage what's there? You can easily wire them in that configuration. Oh, well, that's a latch, it's not a... Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Like, it's just a bunch of transistors that are turning on and off. The transistors don't really care what the intention is, they don't know. All they know is that they're on or off. You know, that's all transistors really, really bothered about. They're not sentient things. They don't give a fuck what you like driving them with or using them to drive, as long as it's within their tolerance levels. And, well, TTL level, you know, 5 volts is what those particular transistors are built for. They're not really bothered where it's coming from or where it's going. Yeah, is an exclusive OR gate a NOT gate? Well, no, because it says exclusive OR gate, but if one of the inputs is always high, like it's just tied to the power supply through a like 4.7k resistor, so it's not banging the transistor on really hard, then yeah, sure, now it's a fucking NOT gate, because if we, you know, the output will be on, like, unless we feed something into that second input, and as soon as the second input goes high, the output for that will turn off. So now it's not good. The IC's there. If those inputs aren't being used, you might as well use them. Like, you know, if you have something in the circuit that is right there, like the clock is right there next to that chip, yeah, why not use it? Someone had got me for not using a dedicated clock divider because it was like, oh, I'll just use this, was in a different circuit, like, oh, I'll use a flip-flop, you know? It's like, yeah, but you need to use a clock divider because it's like, you know, so basically a flip-flop. Like the 7.4 series like flip-flops are like dirt cheap, and that will just divide your clock in two. Like it will, because they only, I think they turn on the rising edge of an input, but I can't remember. But in any case, say they do, your clock's going to be roughly a square wave. It might be dirty, and this is one of the reasons you want to divide it, is it cleans it up. And so as the clock signal rises and heads up to 5 volts, the output of the flip-flop will turn on, and then the clock will drop down, like, you know, go back to about 0 volts. Did we lose anything? It doesn't look like it. But the flip-flop will stay on because it's not seeing another rising edge. And so now it's on for the whole time the actual clock signal is low. And then when the clock signal goes high again, you have the next rising edge, the flip-flop will turn its output off, and it will stay off as the clock signal falls and goes low. So, you know, essentially that flip-flop is only, the output of the flip-flop is only high half as often as the clock is high. So, you know, you get a better, more square, cleaner clock out of it. Like, it maybe isn't perfect, but yeah, so, you know. And it, obviously flip-flops, they're usually like a dual or quad configuration, and if you divide it down again, you'll get an even cleaner clock. So, you know, if you want to be really, really precise, say you want like a 12 megahertz clock, then you'd feed it 48 megahertz, which is actually quite close to the limit of the low-speed CMOS ones that are cheap. But you probably would get away with it. I mean, they do a high-speed CMOS one, but they're a little bit more sensitive. You know, and then you would feed that into the flip-flop, and then the output of that flip-flop you would feed back into the next input on that flip-flop. You know, what will be coming out there is like 24 megahertz, and then after you've fed it through the next one, that gets divided down and you get like a very clean 12 megahertz. You don't need a dedicated IC to do it. And, you know, if you're building a complicated enough thing that you'd start needing clock sources, you probably need flip-flops anyway, so the odds are you're going to have one on hand, and you probably are going to have an input and output on it somewhere or two that you aren't actually using. So, yeah, just use that. It works just as well. And I'd wager it's pretty much the same circuit as is in some dedicated clock dividing solution. I can't remember what they told me to use. I just know it was like $7 or something, and it's like, man, I can buy like, you know, a tube of 10 fucking 7.4 series flip-flops for $5 and do the same job. You know, I'm trying to generate like a barely double-figure like megahertz clock here at most. I'm not really. I don't need this. You know, if I was working with like thousands and thousands of megahertz, I probably need like specialized equipment. But just a couple of megahertz, it's not going to matter. And that Mega Drive pad thing doesn't do any division, but that thing's running at like, you know, a man or a kilohertz, I can't remember, 20 kilohertz I think it's running at, or somewhere around there. Like, it's not a very fast clock. Precision and that, it's not really that important. As long as the whole circuit is running the same, it's, you know, the interface that it's connecting to, like in the PC, is actually analog. The digital control pad it's connecting to, it doesn't have a a CPU or anything. It is literally just a multiplexer chip that's in there. It's not really bothered if the clock's a little bit unstable, just as long as the clock's even for the whole circuit, it's equally unstable, it'll be fine. You could sit there and flip a switch manually, you could employ some like small child to do it on the promise that you were going to take them to fucking Disney or something, I don't know, to just sit there and flip a little switch on and off, and yeah, it would work just fine. They have to flip it very quickly, but and if they don't flip it fast enough, you just smack them until they do, I suppose. The problem with children is they're a bit like kind of expensive, you know, like this is why we just use logic chips, because they're a bit cheaper. They don't complain. You know, you don't have to get food for them or clothing or like, you know, living arrangements or anything like that. You just like attach them to your circuit logic chips and they just do their job. And 7.4 series ICs, unless you're driving them ridiculously hard, usually last decades and decades, whereas children only last about a decade and a half, and then they start turning into adults and like questioning the world a little bit more and realising that it's not actually like very fulfilling employment, and maybe I should go and do something else with my life now. And for the first few years of that, they're not even useful anyway. I mean, like, you know, so toddlers, you couldn't really employ them to do something as important as that, could you? They'd mess it up. I mean, toddlers are not that smart, really. Actually, is that a big gas station there? I think it might be. I was going to go to that boat if you're wondering why I'm driving. I think you've probably figured that out, but... Oh, big rock. Yeah, this is one of them big gas stations. No boat's this way, huh? Of course not. Oh, I heard something. Oh, we're closer than I thought. Oh, a bus! Fucking hell. Man, it was an ambush. Ambush by the bus. 2105. Oh, we might drive that on the way home. In fact, I'm going to interpret that we probably will, and I'm going to push it off of here so it doesn't get fucking mangulated if we ever, that's what I wanted to do, you div. My words and my brain were kind of arguing with each other there. Ah. LL, Cool J. And I have a lot of time left. And turn the lights on, it'll spook us when we're driving back up the road and it's night time. We just see this random light sticking out in the road. Yeah, we'll drive to the boat. Then we'll be coming up on the end of that road. That boat might be closer up there, you know. Do we think that may be closer to the road than one we're going to? We don't really need this, but we might as well get it if it's there. Like I say, I still want to do a little bit of adventuring. Right, let's go adventuring. We're beyond our target distance anyway, so ain't really nothing to be upset about here. And we have about a decade of minutes left. See, it actually seems like I'd have less than that, but... And that's actually weird in itself, because I've actually quite enjoyed myself on this today. I'm having fun. I don't know why, I'm just really, really enjoying this today. Sometimes we can't always put into words why we enjoy something, and I don't think you have to, you know? It's fucking hell, this thing really does drink oil. What the fuck is this all about? I don't think we have to, you know. I don't ever feel the need to. It's nice to be able to put something in words, because then you can maybe get somebody else to understand what you're saying. You know, you can articulate it to them better, but... if you're enjoying something, you don't ever feel like you absolutely have to put it into words. It's really not necessary. The only thing that matters is that you enjoy it, right? And that's what I've always thought. And as I've said before, I totally do get that some people will find this game incredibly boring. They'll really, really dislike it. And that's cool too, even if they can't justify why they dislike it. I think if you try and say something's actually bad, that you should have to, like, you know, say why to make it fully valid. Like, you know, just coming up and going, oh, that Long Drive's like a really bad game. Sure, maybe, but why? Like, if you can't tell me why, then I'm not inclined to believe you. The same as if you turn up and say, oh, that Long Drive's a really good game. Well, why? It's something I'm always careful to do on the main channel. You know, people do get angry about me because I say that certain hardware is bad, but you'll notice I'm always very careful to explain why, like, I find it to be bad hardware. Like, I find it to be of inferior quality because it doesn't function correctly or something. I don't just go, oh, that's bad. I go, this is bad because. And I do the same when I like something, you know, and I think it's good. I go, well, this is actually really good because. And then sometimes, you know, I do run into, I like something, but I know it's terrible, or I can't explain why I like it. And so on that, I don't necessarily say, hey, it's really good. I just say, hey, I actually like this thing, even though it's, like, probably not that good, or, well, I actually don't like this thing, even though it actually is pretty good. Let's try and get back to the road before the sun goes down. I won't let the sun go down on me. I won't let the sun go down. Okay, the road's over here. Come on, the sun's going down. Where's that road? So, fucking hell, we're that close to it. I think we made the right choice going to that boat and not the other one, you know. Now it's going to spin. It's going to double spin. It's going to wheel spin. I made it back before the sun went down. Fuck you, son. Too quick for you. We drove so fast it'd never go down, because we'd just be chasing it around the planet. It is quite clearly the sun that moves in this game and not the planet. Close to the end of the world. Probably about 4,860 kilometres out by the time we stopped today. If not slightly more. It's a bit tight, but, you know, it's fine. We're past our target now, so hey, any of this in the last like 4 minutes or whatever, it's a bonus. It's a fucking bonus. We can't complain about it as long as we're making progress now. I can't believe how close we are to the end. It actually seems to be coming up really, really fast. When the numbers in my head, I keep going over them and it's just like, wow, like we're actually pretty much almost there. And as I say, because of the lost counter like data, we could be ending the road at any time. Like, we could literally just make it over a little crest and there'd just be no more road. I do think we have like a couple 100k to go at least, really. Like, you know, we have like 350k or something left of the road most likely, but you know, and I'm surprised we're not seeing mountains, because I would think we would be in big mountains again by now. Road might end on a mountain. That would be pretty fun, actually. I don't know how that would look. So, like I said, it's weird because, like, you know, I wanna do it and I wanna see it done, but at the same time, I'm actually going to be quite sort of sad when it's done. You know, it's really catching up with me now. Like, just how close we are, and I sort of want to do it, but at the same time I don't want it to end. Maybe that's why I keep going off to Burt's and stuff. But we really should have enough fuel now. It's just the oil. The oil's the only problem. We should maybe have got like a 20 litre container of that. I don't mind stopping for oil occasionally. From now on, we probably will just push until the oil light comes on, because there's, you know, there just is no reason to not do that at this stage. Like, there's just no point. Like, we might as well just push and push and push now. May as well just keep going. I mean, yeah, we probably could get to the end of the road on the oil we've got. I mean, you know, like I say, I think we'd be limping, maybe not as bad now that we've topped it up, but I think we could have done it. We probably could have got to the road's end on that amount of oil. But yeah, we might as well just keep the car in good shape, like, as we can. And yeah, it's amazing we're going to end it in this car, because I really didn't, like, think that when I was getting this car, you know, and then as we drove it was just like, holy shit, there's actually not that much road left. Like, this was only going to be a temp car, and it's like, no, this is the car we're going to use. It was the same with that green one of these, like, where I was like, oh, it's only temporary, and I ended up driving it a really long way. So these 2101s, I think they might be my favourite car in the game now. You know, I went into this Let's Play hating this car in this game. Like I say, I actually like the 2101 in real life. And I've come out of this actually liking this car. My God. Oh no. It's gonna be a fucking mountain, isn't it? We knew it was coming. I told you, didn't I? I done told you we were gonna have mountains. So the end is probably just past these mountains. We're probably going to have like 4 or 5 mountains or something, and then we're going to be at the end. That diner's where we're going to stop today. That's going to be our destination for the day. We're going to stop the car there, and I'm going to go away. And stop bugging you. Go away, kid, you're bothering me. 6:35. We've certainly done an adequate amount of miles today, that's for sure. We're just laying the smems down at this point. We really are. It's be careful, because cars spawn out here sometimes. That's a Plymouth. Gotta have a quick look at that. Hey, if it starts up, shall we drive it? I think we'll keep the nipple bell end until the end. Maybe we'll pick the Plymouth up on the way home, but I don't know. Probably not. I've gone off it. I love it. It's an awesome looking thing. It's actually quite fun to drive, but oh good God, that's in good shape. Just nearly murdered myself. What? No way. Oh, don't go off there. Ah, crap. I'm guessing the tyres aren't in good shape. I've got to stop. But I want to get it off here so it doesn't get knackered when I reload the game. Come on, I've run out of time. There we go. That should do it. It's not the most glamorous thing for my glamour car, but shit, fucking hell, it's got loads of fuel. So, now we have decisions to make. I put the handbrake on, you div. Right, let's do a manual save before we're out of time. We might be taking that in the next part. I really don't know. You two? 7-9 we're on now. Let's write it down. Let's see what we've got. So we should be past 6850, 6860, maybe 6875-ish. 48, I mean 48, 82. We just did about, just short of 9, it's about 87 kilometres. That's good going. We fucking did it. And we are now 18k away from 4900. This is pretty ridiculous, isn't it? We're really pushing now. My trees, and thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Could be the end of the road, but I don't think so.